You put out a statement this morning just saying government has to make the proposed youth employment subsidy more meaningful to employers. Are we talking about more than just financial incentives here?
Yeah, we're talking financial incentives. I don't think the meaningfulness of the financial incentive itself, because it's quite a substantial incentive. I think that the concern is in the implementation of how to encourage employers to use that incentive to be motivated to participate. So, government really has to set out very clearly what the benefits are to business in participating in the youth employment subsidy.
Well, what do you see as the benefits to business, or haven't they been spelled out clearly enough by government at this stage?
Now, there are significant benefits to business. The benefits would be, it would leverage a whole lot of strategic initiatives, from the Employment Equity Progress and Employment Equity Act to your Black Economic Empowerment point by doing learnerships. It would give you motivated and productive employees who are able to career going forward. So there are a lot of benefits, but I don't believe they've been very effectively set out in the actual document that has been published by Treasury. And, if they don't look at the demand side and create a demand in the minds of business, you might very well see a slow uptake, as was the case with the retrenchment avoidance money that was set aside last year, or the year before last, towards the end of the economic crisis.
Do we have the political will to make a meaningful dent in unemployment here in South Africa? Because issues like the youth subsidy scheme come against opposition from parties within the tripartite alliance, such as COSATU. So there still seems to be no resolution on that front, whether we can actually get the tripartite alliance to agree on the movement forward.
Yes, well, we will be negotiating the formation of the youth employment subsidy at NAC. But I think the biggest concern, and we share that concern with the trade unions, is around the possible displacement of workers that aren't youth as per definition, who might be displaced for cheaper labor, and that's not the objective. The objective is to grow the economy by subsidizing business, making it more competitive from a wage bill point of view, and thereby fueling economic growth, which can lead to more job creation. So the last intent is just to move the same number of marbles around on the board, so to speak. We need to grow the number.
Well, John, we need to create 500,000 jobs a year over the next 10 years if we're to meet government's targets for cutting unemployment. But some analysts say with labour legislation becoming more onerous, we're likely to be shedding jobs rather than creating jobs. What's your comment on that?
Yeah, look, I think that's quite accurate. There are currently 4 bills put before before NEDLAC. We're busy negotiating them at the moment. And if the bill had to go through in their current form, there would definitely be unintended consequences. But it appears that I think it's become more and more apparent. And we're actually reverting to NEDLAC tomorrow, starting again with new sets of negotiations around these bills and various themes in the national interest, like job creation. So hopefully we will have a balanced outcome to that.
John, how about the roles of public-private partnerships in reducing unemployment? Do we need the government and the private sector working together and using resources that the private sector has to help place workers and create jobs?
Absolutely. The private sector employment services are geared up for that. Their systems, their databases, their responsiveness, their economies are all there. And, what you should rather have government playing is an enabling role rather than a specific interventionist role there. And I think there is a bit of a concern that they're trying to go it alone, which decreases quality and service delivery levels, but also, increases the tax burden.
And how about the role of the education system? Because you don't want to put the cart before the horse. This really should start in the high school level, shouldn't it? Absolutely.
We actually need a full, the whole value chain needs to be appropriately addressed. And it's obviously a hell of a process, and it's going to take time, and we can't afford to have that time, and even more so that we need the private sector to stand in the gap until, those types of educational challenges are ironed. To have a pop rate of 30% is not sufficient in business. Called competent. Would you fly the pilot who got 30% on his assessments? I very much doubt it, and we can't employ people that don't have job experience, don't have a proper education in business. I mean, it's contrary to legislation itself.
And John, do you believe that Do you believe that NEDLAC is the correct forum to address all of these issues? Do you think we need another forum put up where these issues can be hammered out between government, labour and business?
Yeah, look, NEDLAC is the right forum. I just believe that what's critical at NEDLAC is to have the right level of facilitator or chairperson. And we're fortunate to have Herbert Mkhize, who's the head of NEDLAC, personally chairing these negotiations. So we feel very comfortable with that.